What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, as you have seen on the title, I will be sharing with you my top favorite local podcasts in the Philippines. If you know me well, and if you are maybe following me on Instagram, you know that I super duper love listening to podcasts. I love lengthy podcasts, value-adding podcasts, and a lot of my thought processes and a lot of things I do, I learned from podcasts. If you don't know yet what a podcast is, it's basically something that you listen to people talking about anything in life and you learn a lot from or entertain you. And I hope that you will find a favorite in my favorites too. So without further ado, let's get to the video. The very first podcast I listened to was a foreign one. It was Modern Love from the New York Times, I believe, but I stopped listening to that. This is the very first local podcast that I listened to, and I think they're one of the OGs, and their podcast is a Spotify exclusive, and it is Wake Up with Jim and Sab. I've been following Sab Magalona for the longest time. I think since I was in college, I was following spellsab.com. I really love her. I think she's so cool, and even now that she's a mom, she has been through a lot, but she still manages to be cool and funny and quirky. I just love their concept where they just talk to each other even if they're just in one house. Basically, it's Wake Up with Jim and Sab because it started with like Sab Magalona waking up and asking Jim how he is or something like that. And Jim is her husband, Jim Bahara. If I were to have a husband too someday, I'd love to do something like this with him, because even if you live under one roof, it doesn't mean that you don't have any individual experiences. And I think it's really nice, like at the end of the day, you talk to each other because you are running a household, you're running a life together, and it's just really nice to ask a genuine how are you to your husband or your wife and to like know where they are, because you are moving as one and it's hard when another person's on a different path. It's just nice to have conversations like that with your spouse. They have what they call the Mali bag. Basically, like their pod kids send emails to them and ask for their advice. I think most of their listeners are in their 20s or like young professionals. It's a very easy listen and you can really feel the character of each of them. I love them. That's why I bought this Linya shirt. I have a lot of Linya shirts and I just support their cause and I just support them. I don't listen to this a lot, but when I checked the podcasts that I used to listen to, I remembered this, and it is The Paper Cup by Nate Punzalan. I really love his content. It's a faith-based, value-adding content. You know, I love people who are able to make their content faith-based. That's their goal. Like at the end of the day, like how do you spread God's word? And he makes it in a way that's so practical, so fundamental. It's just really nice and so admirable. I would love to have content like that. It talks about a lot of real life situations and real life problems that all of us are going through. That's why I would love for you guys to listen to his episodes and his podcast and subscribe to it, because I do know that things that he will share there will really change your life in small and big ways. Just listening to him is very comforting and validating, and he's not scared to be vulnerable, to share what he went through. Sometimes we think that influencers have it all or they have perfect lives, but I like what he said in one of his episodes, that we sometimes compare our life to other people's highlights, or what we're going through to other people's highlights, because usually people just post their highlights on Instagram or wherever. And I talk about that in my top 3 mindsets, that social media is not real life. Today, like I look like this because I put makeup on, I applied makeup on, but I don't look like this every day. I don't even look like that pretty today, you know, but whatever. Anyway, I just love his content, and if by any chance you are watching this, you are doing a great job. I hope you don't ever doubt yourself again being a content creator. Yes, numbers do tell a lot and numbers do matter, but I feel like it's the impact that we make in every person's life that matters the most. At the end of the day, I hope you are fulfilled and I hope that you are happy. So please listen to The Paper Cup. Okay, so the next one is The 80% by Fitz Villafuerte. I love this podcast too. It's such an easy listen for a financial podcast, you know. It's not purely financial-based podcast, but most of its topics are about finances, about money, saving your money, and changing your financial life. Because after all, Fitz Villafuerte is a registered financial planner, but he is a civil engineer by profession, I believe. And he's a financial literacy advocate. And you know, I want to be a very literate financial person. It's such an easy listen. It's not so complicated and it's not pure English. Sometimes he talks in Tagalog, which I think is a really nice touch for other people because it's hard kasi nga, he wants to push financial literacy and sometimes, you know, how can you push financial literacy if most people cannot understand English or I mean, people who don't have English as their first language. I just love how he connects the value of money to the value of having a good life, you know what I mean? And I love that he's not only focused on like how to be successful with money or your finances, but he also kind of focuses on the mindsets and the habits that you form to be able to reach your financial goals. Like, trust that your dots will connect. I love this episode, and also focus on the process and the results will come. And he also has a lot of guests there that you will learn a lot from. Just listen to it and you'll know what I mean. It's Hustle Share, hosted by Ronster Baetyo. I think he is also the brains behind Podcast Network Asia. Hustle Share is a Filipino podcast that features the journeys of startup founders, business leaders, and unique hustlers to show not our differences, but to show that most of us are very much alike. And it's very nice because there's a reason why we look up to certain public figures or to certain business leaders. It's because we are, number one, maybe we're inspired by what they do. We also want to be in their shoes. Number two, it's because we can relate to their struggles. Because everybody struggles, no matter how successful you are in life and no matter what kind of life you were given. Even if you're poor or young, you're old or rich, we struggle in different ways, but everybody does struggle because we're all human. So it's just nice to know all the people's stories, like all these successful people. It just gives you hope and it makes you realize that, you know, everything really is possible if you just put in the effort and, you know, just focus and just make it a reality for you. Really love autobiographies and like inspiring stories because it makes you have that mindset that, hey, I can do this too. That's also the goal of my content, that, hey, I'm also going through this and I hope that somebody relates. If you're going through something, you're not alone. And I love sharing content or resources that also change my life and my everyday habits, and I hope it will be the same for you too. So that's why I love Hustle Share, because it's literally sharing the hustle and the struggles that all these business leaders and all these successful people went through. It just goes to show that they were also like given the same amount of time that's also given to us. They just use it in a different way. My favorite episode was the episode of Carmen's Best, Potato Corner. They also have the hustle behind Laika, behind Kim's store. I also love the one from the Society 8 one. I forgot her name. They also have Zalora, Human Nature, Animal Auto Wilk, oh my gosh. Globe Telecom is also here. Bello Medical Group is also here. See, they don't just pick whoever. They pick like really big public figures that are very well known. People who have really struggled, like started from zero, like really nothing, to like a multi-million peso business. It's nice because you get to see behind the scenes of like businesses, because usually you just see the product or the building or whatever, but it's so nice to hear the story of how this certain brand or this certain business was built. You know, I just love being inspired and I love like just knowing all about it. It's very inspiring. I hope you listen to it. So if you don't know yet, I'm turning 31 this year. Yes, oh my gosh, my 30 just went through because of this pandemic. I don't think that I succeeded in a lot of things, but whatever, that's my responsibility and that's 100% on me. But I just love this podcast because it just goes to show that being 30 doesn't have to be a stage in life where you have to achieve so many things, that you have to forgive yourself because you are still figuring it out, and it's okay to still figure it out even if everybody expects that 30 is like the stage in life where you have to be established. You know what I mean? This is why I really love After 30 by Cara Erigel. Love her because you can see her character. I really feel like she's a really good person, and she has this love for dogs. You will always hear her dog Pugsley in the background, and I super duper love her podcast with Denise Laurel. She talks about just life in general, and yun nga, like how life is oddly the same at 30. Like, even if you're 30, like, wow, I still, like, for me, even me, I still feel like a kid, even if I'm 30. Before, when I was younger, I would always think that, oh my gosh, at 30, like, 30, you should have your own house, you have your own family, you're married, you have your own car, you're super duper established. And I felt like 30 was so old, like, so far out there. But now that I am 30, I still feel like a baby. I still feel like a kid. And I was even telling my mom, like, oh my gosh, you had me, or you already had me when you were 30. And I can't believe that you had another, we were already two. You had two human beings that you had to take care of, and you were still figuring things out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'll ever be ready, blah, 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 blah. It's just nice because I find it comforting, and I find it that I can forgive myself for not being able to be all those things that I really wanted to be, that it's okay to figure things out, because that is what life is. You will never stop learning, and you will never stop figuring things out. But during those moments when you figure things out and when you learn things, in between those moments, you have your small wins that you have to celebrate. And every single learning, every single small win, small and big win, you become closer to your goal. You become a better version of yourself. And I think that's what everyone wants, to become better versions of ourselves. And also, that is why I'm making this vlog, because, you know, I want to go back to it and see how far I've come, what were the things that worked for me, what were my habits during that time that maybe I could go back to. Like, let's say I'm 40 and I want to go back here, and I'm 30. Like, Nina, this is your 30-year-old self. You are such an avid fan of podcasts, and it really, really works for you. So if you are now at 40 and you don't listen to it anymore, and you think that you are going through so many struggles in life, I think it's nice to go back to a podcast maybe and listen to it. So yeah, sorry, I just talked to myself. I just love all the episodes of After 30 with Cara Erigel. I highly suggest this podcast to you. Super duper relatable stuff, and they don't filter things here. She's not afraid to ask the hard questions to her guests, and the guests are awesome. Alright, so the next one, I just listened to this, I think yesterday. No, I listened to one episode like a month ago or 2 months ago, but I only started listening to it, really diving into it yesterday. And oh my gosh, I love this podcast so much. Number one, it's hosted by Dr. Vicky Bello and Katrina Razon. It's also under Podcast Network Asia. I love it because, number one, of course, Dr. Vicky Bello is there. Like, need I say more? So everything that she says are based on her experience. It's very much scientific based and evidence based and research based. So they don't just talk about whatever, you know. They talk about real life stuff like that's proven and tested. And of course, because of her expertise and experience in the medical field, specifically dermatology, it's a really, really good resource for you. You know, it's basically like learning from a doctor for free. You know what I mean? So I do believe that we have to back on this and to listen to this, because, you know, she's giving away information for free. So listen to this podcast. And I love how Dr. Vicky Bello explains very well. Like, she explains things very simply, I notice, because Katrina Razon, on the other hand, I find that she's very, very knowledgeable as well. She's very intellectual, you know. She's very intellectual to the point that sometimes it's kind of hard to pick up what she's trying to explain, because I think she's very intellectual that way. Or maybe like if somebody listens to her who doesn't understand English very well, then it might be hard for you to understand her or to get what she's trying to say. But Dr. Vicky Bello tries to balance that out. So I love the combination. Plus, Katrina Razon is also a yoga teacher plus a holistic coach. So sobrang ganda ng combination, because Dr. Vicky Bello is all about like scientific stuff and like research-based medical expertise. But Katrina Razon is balancing those out also with her holistic approach. This podcast made me go out this morning, made me go out for 10 minutes and just walk around, because I was so lazy. Sabi ko, I don't want to go out. I know I have to get vitamin D. I have very low vitamin D. I still have to go to the doctor to get that checked. I was thinking, should I just buy vitamin D3 so that I can just, you know, just supplement my health with my lack of vitamin D? But I was like, why would I spend so much money and let my liver suffer again if I can just go out and get some sun, and it's for free and it's just there. So I just went out today and walked around the court for 10 minutes to get sun. You know what I mean when you listen to the podcast? It's not just about beauty, but beauty comes from deep within. Like, if you can't just make yourself beautiful by putting on makeup or putting moisturizer. You guys know that it really starts from within. It just makes me want to take care of myself more. It kind of schools you in a very good way on how to be healthier, have like a well-rounded quality of life, because at the end of the day, you only have yourself, your body, one mind. If one is not functioning well, then it's harder to get through life and to live life, right? That's why I love this podcast so much. It's life-changing for sure. Okay, the next podcast that I super duper love is On Call with Justin, Jaco, Danny, and Inka. Before this, it was only On Call with Justin, Jaco, and Danny, and then they added Inka, which is really nice because at least we have a female perspective in the group. I super duper love this podcast because it's like, okay, I see it this way, like, there's a group of friends who are very well spoken, very informative, very cool, have different views, but who respect each other. Super love the dynamics of the group. Their views in life and in whatever topic they're talking about is just so refreshing and so relatable, and I just love it. Also, they're so well spoken. Really, to me, the influence is I want to also speak that way because I don't speak English very well, especially now. Like, before, it was better. Like, before I went abroad, it was so much better. But now, I notice that I sometimes lose my words. Like, I have words that I don't use anymore, or my vocabulary now is very low just because my community and my workplace is very international, like super duper international, where people don't really speak English as their first language, or most people just learn speaking English. I kind of have to use broken English to be able to be understood more. Don't get to talk to my friends that much who speak English more, so that's why my English has kind of gotten a little bit on the weak side. So I'm trying to make up for that because I don't want to lose my English speaking skills because it's very, very useful. So it's just nice to be influenced by 4 people who speak English so well. They speak so eloquently, especially Inka and Justin. I super love also that Justin always injects faith, verses in the Bible. It's a really good balance. There's 4 of them, 4 people who love to talk. They could go on for hours and hours talking about any topic. I love it also because I love lengthy podcasts. To me, an hour-long podcast is the best. I get bitten when I listen to a 10-minute podcast. I really don't like that. And I think that's why also my videos are very long, because I like lengthy content. I hope you like it too. I really hope that you give them a listen because they have such refreshing views on very common and mundane things in life, parts of your life that just look so common. It's amazing how they can elaborate on just one topic and just make everything so cohesive and concise, but the discussion has been so long. Basta, it's really good. That's why you won't lose your focus because they're really good at making it cohesive, even if there's 4 people talking. I feel like it's there's this group of people who are very intellectual and cool people, cool kids, and you get to have a listen to whatever they're talking about, which is always gold, so I love it. So my top favorite podcast, I super duper love this podcast. I think I've listened to every single episode, including the one where they guest in Boiling Waters, and it is R&R with Dana and Stacy, or Raw and Real with Dana and Stacy. So Dana and Stacy, they are twin sisters. They have a newfound relationship with God. They have renewed faith in God. I just love their podcasts because number one, it's long. As I've told you, I really love lengthy podcasts. Plus, The title of their podcast or their show speaks for itself. Like, it is definitely raw and real. Talking about schooling you, this show will really school you. Like, if you're marupok or you're so into boys or you're so sinful or whatever, like all these like struggles, they will call you out here. They're very brave to be vulnerable and to share very personal stuff from their lives. Like, very personal. They're not afraid to show the world their dirty laundry or to let the world know what they went through. And I love it because they let people learn from their mistakes so that other people don't have to go through it. And it's such a value-adding content, and it will definitely change your life and change your mindset about certain things. And it will inspire you to have the same kind of relationship with God. Of course, every single relationship with God is unique because we are all unique, as Augmandina says. They're such strong women. I love their relationship as siblings. You know, I even thought that they were older than me because they're just so wise. But apparently, they're 1 year younger than me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, pressure. I would love to have friends like this. These are the people that I want to surround myself with, you know. And also, like, After 30 with Cara El Regal. I just love how their episodes make you realize your worth, make you realize and tell you how special you are and how much you have to value the things that you consume, your faith, your influences, all these things. Like, they're such a good influence in my life, and I even follow them on Instagram, and especially Dana. I love how she writes. They're full of wisdom. I believe the Holy Spirit is really guiding them in all their creative pursuits, because it's really a blessing to me. Like, to be honest, it's really a blessing, and I learned so much from them. I also love other podcasts like the Sky Podcast, Adulting with Joy Spring, and Cuentos with Hannah. Go listen to a podcast. If you haven't yet listened to a podcast, start right now. You can listen to podcasts on Spotify. If you don't have a Spotify, some of them are also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And if you don't have these and you would like to see them, most of the podcasts now have a video type of podcast. So you can go to their YouTube channel. For sure, they would have the video type there. I hope you like this video, guys, and I hope it was value adding to you as well. I really love sharing with you all these stuff that I personally find helpful to me, and I hope that in some way it will help you too. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for helping me grow. Let's grow together. And of course, as I promised, I would give a shout out at the end of every video that I do. And today I would like to give a shout out to the one who asked for it, and it is Hannibal. Hi Hannibal, he's my co-worker before. I hope you are doing well. I hope you're okay, Pinky friend. And thank you so much for watching my video. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Stay safe and healthy. God bless.